What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Tampa Tones here, Buccateers. Thanks for joining us. Hope everyone's doing great this evening. We got Timmy joining us. Timmy, how the hell are you? Thanks for getting us viewers, tagging friends and family in the video, so that's pretty cool. Timmy's joining us on Facebook. Speaking of joining us on the Buccateers this evening, we got lifelong Bucs fan, listener of the show. We got a good friend of the show coming on, did the WWE draft with him. And fantasy football with the man. We're going to bring him in here in a minute, then we're going to roll the intro and we'll get into the meats of the episode. Real quick, we'll get into him. Jeremy, thanks for joining the show, brother. Excited to talk some Buccaneers football with you for the next 30 minutes or so.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's great to be on. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, brother. We'll get into the meats of it in a little bit. Real quick, where can the good people follow you at on Twitter, my friend, to keep up with all your thoughts, ideas? I mean, you got some good ones between football, wrestling, you name it. You're a good follow. Where can the people keep up with you?
No, I appreciate it. Like I said, football's my passion. I grew up watching it. And I've been a Bucs fan for a long time. Grew up in the Red Computer and wrestling, the other thing that kept me occupied all year long, when there's no football season.
Yes, sir. What's your Twitter handle, brother? Where can people keep up with all your thoughts and stuff?
So yeah, y'all guys can follow me at JLo1990 all day on Twitter. Basically, I'm just a sports fan that loves hockey as well. I follow the Rays as well. I'm all around sports, guys. That's what I enjoy doing. So if you guys are interested, follow me, and I'll be happy to talk sports with you.
We got the real J-Lo in the house. We'll put it like that. We don't need the other J-Lo. We got the real J-Lo. So we're gonna roll the intro. We got J-Lo and Tampa Tones here on the Buccateers with you, talking Bucs ball for the next 30+ minutes. We might get Stunna. We might get Honcho. Both of them said they were going to be here. So we'll see if they show up. Maybe Cats as well. You never know. It's Tampa Tones on the Buccateers with J-Lo, Jeremy in the house. Follow us on Twitter at Buccateers. We're live on there now. Follow us on YouTube at Buccateers Podcast. Catch a replay on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and so much more. And keep up with us on Facebook at Bucs Life News over there. We'll be back in a flash. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in under a minute and 20 seconds here on the Buccateers. Let's ride. Game on Sunday, man. I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buck fans were there too. Beat Bug.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by lead goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little clear. But we're joined by Pat Donovan.
It looks like Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like you got a little...
No, my camera's broke.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Buccateers. Thank you for being with us this evening. Not being us, but being with us this evening. Tampa Tones here alongside special guest, lifelong Bucs fan, listener of the shows, J-Lo, Jeremy, the real J-Lo. We're going to get right into it here, Jeremy. We're not going to beat around the bush. We already did introductions here. Mayfield or Trask? We obviously signed Baker Mayfield last week as NFL free agency was in the midst of things. We brought in Baker, and he's going to be competing for the starting job. If not, the starter comes week 1 for the 2023 NFL season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And whether it's a move because, he's the most notable name that was out there on the free agency market after Derek Carr got signed to keep some season ticket holders around, whether Todd Bowles is trying to fight for his job and thinks Mayfield gives him the best chance at that, or whether it's just purely for competition with Kyle Trask to drive him to the next level. I think I've convinced myself, and others have convinced me, of becoming a fan of the signing. It's not that I wasn't a Baker guy, but my opinion was this: since he couldn't make it in Carolina, the Rams didn't sign him back, which, not the biggest red flag since they do owe Stafford a lot of money. Since Cleveland kind of kicked him out, didn't get along with some wide receivers. I was really under the impression of, all right, let's give Trask a chance, bring in a guy like Drew Lock or Jacoby Brissett, a true backup, give them the backup role, kind of let Trask still compete with him, but he'd be the clear-cut starter. Here, to me, we go opposite direction, pendulum swing. If Mayfield isn't the starter, that's going to be a little surprising to me, but I want to get your thoughts on that. At the end of the day, what are your thoughts on the entire Baker Mayfield thing as a lifelong Bucs fan, Jeremy? And who do you think ends up on top here, Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask?
At first, there's, pros and cons to Baker Mayfield. He can be a confident, and he can be cocky at the same time. And I'm a bit supportive of Trask. I really want Trask to be the one to be the starter. Truthfully, I believe in Trask. I feel like if you give him a shot with the ones, let's see what the kid's got. But why not spice things up with some competition? Baker Mayfield, former number one overall pick. He's made the playoffs. He won in Pittsburgh, which is hard to do. It's not easy going into Pittsburgh and winning a playoff game. So I feel like at the end of the day, Baker was the best competition for Trask. That's what Jason Light was betting on, was the best competition to push Trask, and this could be it. I mean, you can put Trask with ones during the OTAs. Let's see what he's got. And if it's Baker, hey, I'm all for it. I'll take Baker. There are some good things about Baker. He can run out of the pocket, get rid of the ball if he needs to. He does have some turnover mistakes at times. And when he went to Carolina, that kind of wasn't his choice. It's the only team I was willing to trade for him. And he kind of went later on in the offseason when that happened. So pretty much he got thrown to a fire with a coach who doesn't have a job there no more. I mean, he went back to college, but just to me, it wasn't a good fit. It's all about seeing a fit. When he went to the Rams, he did pretty well under Sean McVay. So, and from what I'm hearing from Dave Canellis, I feel like this guy is the real deal, you know, working with quarterbacks. And this could be good for Baker Mayfield, or if not, this could be an opportunity for Trask. One way or the other, we're going to have some fun competition coming to training camp. And I'm, for one, excited for it. I can't wait.
And I think you bring up a lot of good points there, building off the Baker Mayfield subject. Bring him in, compete. Competition brings out the best in you. And I think at this point in time, sure, Baker might have had OBJ in Cleveland when he was there, but if you look past OBJ, there wasn't a lot more on that Browns roster in terms of weaponry outside the running back position. They do have a hell of a running back room, as they had Chubb, Hunt, plus others, but Baker's never had the type of arsenal he's about to, right? Because in Carolina, they had DJ Moore and a bag of chips. In Los Angeles, they had a depleted wide receiver core by the time Baker was there. By the time Baker played for them, they were out of it. They were out of the playoffs. Who knows? They weren't going to play their Cooper Kupps of the world, who was a little banged up. Jay comments from Bucs Life News: Trask will win competition because if Mayfield was playing to be the guy, he would have got more than 1 year. So Jay thinks Trask will win the competition. CJ, I like where your head's at, but my point is this: Mayfield probably didn't want to lock himself into a longer than a 1 year deal where he wasn't getting paid top dollar. And I'm not sure a lot of teams that would have gave him a 2 year contract for the money he was looking for this season. Because, yeah, sure, Mayfield and the Bucs might want a guy for 2+ years, but if the Bucs can't trust Baker for 1 season, how would they trust him for 2? Yes, they're playing for the moment. They're playing for the season. Todd Bowles is fighting his job. But to me, this is very much like a Geno Smith situation where if he does ball out next year at this time, sure, then you could extend him. But for now, to me, there wasn't really an optic or a point of giving him a 2-year deal. Jeremy, what say you on that? I just don't see, how would you judge a fair 2-year value for Baker at this point? Because if you would have signed him to 2 years, there's no way he would have taken a 2-year, $15 or $16 million deal, right?
Agreed. Yes. I just feel like Baker wants to go the 1 year, see how it goes in Tampa, see if he can win the competition. I feel like 2 years, to me, where he's at right now, 14, fourth team, in pretty much under a year, it's kind of hard to go with the 2 year deal. So I think Baker's betting on himself to see if he can really be successful with the Bucs. Because remember, if he fails in Tampa, like you said, Ball's job's on the line, everybody's gonna be gone. They're gonna be cleaning house. So I think the 1 year is pretty reasonable for me. Because if he doesn't pan out, and Trask beats him out, he'll be the backup, and then he'll probably go somewhere else next season. But really, this is the last opportunity. And like you said, Tones, this was probably he probably wouldn't have got more than 1 year deal anywhere else. And I do believe the Rams did want him back. They had to go with Stafford because there were rumors spreading around that they were possibly going to trade Stafford. So, like you said, I feel like the 1 year deal was the only deal he was going to get.
Yeah, I agree with you. Stafford, they're paying him so much, and what Baker would have just held his jockstrap all year as long as he would have been healthy. So what's the end goal there if he would have stayed with the Rams? And the 2-year contract, if Baker would have signed 2 years, 16 million, no ways he would have, because as he balls out this year, he will get the Geno Smith type deal. Although odds aren't likely, it is possible. Why would he bet on himself to lose? Because at the very least, even if he flops this year, he'll still get like 1 year, 2 or 3 million next year as a backup, right? So at the very worst, 1 year, 8.5 million with incentives, which if he plays all year should hit most of those. And then say if he does stink it up, 1 year, 2 million next year, that's still 2 years, 10.5 million. He only loses out on a couple million. Opposed to this, if he locks himself in on that 2-year deal at 16 million, he could cost himself Geno Smith type money. So that's my opinion on why both the Bucs and Baker Mayfield would not want to do or would not be kind to do a 2-year agreement upon one another. Jeremy, we got a question or a comment, I should say. Well, we do have questions from our man Mike we'll get to in a minute, but a quick comment to discuss from Jay. Now let's draft Hendon Hooker. This has been a popular opinion amongst Bucks Twitter by some. What say you on Hendon Hooker? I mean, it's hard to tell where this guy is going to go in the draft. I think we all would want him, but we're obviously not going to spend a first or second rounder on a quarterback. With the love Hendon Hooker is getting, I could see him maybe making his way into the second round, albeit a big leg injury. He was having a hell of a year in college, and we know modern day medicine has the modern day athlete back at the snap of a finger. So, A, would you be interested in drafting Hendon Hooker? B, if it's not Hendon Hooker, would you still be interested in drafting a quarterback? And see what round do you see Hendon Hooker end up in. I see him in the mid to back end of round 2. A lot of people had him projected 3. I'm getting a sense it's going to be more so round 2 based on the quarterback demand.
Yeah, Hendon Hooker, I watched him a lot, especially 'cause I'm a Gator fan. I watch a lot of the SEC teams, and Hendon Hooker, he showed a lot of greatness before that injury. That was really horrible what happened to him, and I'm sure he's going to have an NFL future. But right now, I really don't think Todd Bowles really wants to add a third quarterback in the room like that to compete. I feel like he's gonna roll with Baker Mayfield versus Trask. And remember, we invested a second round pick in Kyle Trask like 2 years ago. We got to go out there and put Trask in. And plus,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't Hooker's 25. That's another downer that he's at that age to where he can't really develop. He's gonna have to go out there and play right away. And I just don't see him in Tampa, especially in the second or even I'm hearing first round. Some people are throwing first round predictions, like late first round on him, like a team may trade up to go get him in the late rounds.
We can't
But he's
afford that at all anyway.
no, we can't. And second of all, he's not going to be ready until the first game of the season. So he's not going to be able to do OTAs. He's not going to be able to do training camp. It's just too much of a risk. Like I said, Bowles' job is on the line, and I don't think Light's going that direction. I think Light, to me, is going to go more defensive. Go focus on the front seven or go grab a safety. So at the end of the day, he and Hooker, I think he's gonna have a good opportunity to go to a team that can patiently wait for him to recover, sit out a year like a red shirt and learn the game. And then by next year, after his red shirt, I think he'll be ready to maybe even compete wherever he goes. There's plenty of teams in this league that's gonna pick him, but I just don't think we're the perfect fit for him at this point in time.
And I think you bring up a tremendous point in the fact that Kyle Trask is still young and inexperienced. So in theory, why would you draft another rookie when Trask is almost your rookie? Because he was part of the Bulls regime. I know a lot of people go, oh, a different head coach drafted him. True, but Bulls was the D coordinator at the time, so still part of the team. To me, the ideal Bucs quarterback room, and I don't see it happening per se for, contract reasons, money reasons, perhaps, but I agree. I wouldn't draft Hendon Hooker. Here would be my ideal quarterback room. What we have now, Mayfield and Trask, as you said, Trask's a young guy, still kind of the rookie. Mike D says, hey, boys, our number one man, Mike, is now in the building. But I would do this. I would keep Mayfield, keep Trask, obviously. I would try and bring back, I know a lot of people said no to me before and crushed me on this idea. For the vet men, I'd bring back Ryan Griffin. I would try and bring him back to the practice squad 100%. The Bucs have carried 4 quarterbacks on the roster the past 3 or 4 seasons. Why not this time? So you bring back Ryan Griffin. He's proved that he'd play for the vet men in Tampa. I mean, he's not chasing a ring or a starting gig anytime soon. He's familiar with our offense. He's familiar with the playbook. Help a guy like Baker Mayfield adequate to not only the playbook, but the Tampa area, help him get familiar with things. So I'd keep Ryan Griffin around, and then I would try and sign an undrafted rookie free agent, or perhaps if you package a couple 6 and a 4th to move into the 3rd, maybe scoop a 7th and get one there. But I'm not taking one higher than the 7th round or signing one in UDFA. No way. This team needs way too much. I'm not drafting Hendon Hooker in a top 3 round. This team needs a lot of help. It needs a lot of work. Pops chimes in on Twitter. Pop says, I would not draft Hooker this year because of the Mayfield Trask thing. Bombs, we will have like a top 12 pick, and if it works, we don't need a QB. That's another good point, Jeremy. If Mayfield, and this is why I didn't want Mayfield to begin with, right? Because my hope and dream was this. Kyle Trask versus Drew Lock. Trask probably wins. And then one of two things happens. Either Trask wins the job, becomes a quality starter, and we have a young starting quarterback, or Trask wins the job. We're going to suck it up. By week 11 or 12, only have a couple wins, put Drew Lock in, get 1 or 2 more wins max. Then we'd have 3, 4, 5 wins. We'd set ourselves up with either A, if Trask played well, a really good-looking Kyle Trask who's young and promising, or B, if Trask and Lock crap the bed, the 3rd, 4th, or 5th pick, and then you get, Drake May or Caleb Williams of the world next season. So that's why I would have went Trask and Lock. To me, that's why I don't go Hendon Hooker either. You wait to boom or bust, but that's a little harder to do with Baker Mayfield. I think Mayfield gets us to at least the 5-6 win mark, which to me, I know we can always trade up, but at that point, that'd be out of the Williams and May sweepstakes, in my opinion.
No, I mean, you brought valid points. It makes sense. Like I said, I mean, he and Hooker, I mean, I like him, but at the same time, you gotta roll the dice on giving Trask a chance. And honestly, there's a lot of fans in Tampa that like Trask but don't really believe in him. And I feel like this is gonna be the big push Trask needs to get over the hump to prove that he belongs as a starter. When you come into an environment, you got Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback in history, running the football team. Of course, he's not going to be able to compete against them. And then when they say, "Oh, well, you couldn't beat out Blaine Gabbert," okay, but he didn't play with the ones, not once. He did not play with the ones. Put him with the ones and see what he's got. I mean, he was playing with a bunch of grocery baggers. No disrespect to these other players. I'm just saying. I mean, he just hasn't got the chance, and that's why I've been putting an argument with certain fans that Trask deserves a chance. And I think what Light did in the offseason, bringing back some of our key players, shows that we're not ready to give up. We're ready to keep competing because our division's weak right now. The whole NFC is not that good, to my opinion, if you want to get typical. So I just think right now it's Baker and Trask, best man win, and Trask win, then he'll prove the doubters wrong that he belongs.
I agree with you. Couldn't disagree with you, or couldn't agree with you more. I don't disagree with anything you just said there. I think that's a good point as well. We've only seen Trask with the back end of the roster guys. Nothing against the back end guys, but between preseason and with our backups against Atlanta in Week 18 this past year, because we already clinched, he hasn't really gotten a chance with the Russell Gages, Chris Godwins, and Mike Evans of the world. So I would like to see that as well. We got a couple questions here. A couple viewers watching on Facebook as well. Paul Chin, coworker, great guy. Shout out to you, my friend. Appreciate you joining Jeremy and I and the Buccateers this evening. B. Hank, Brian Hancock, thanks for tuning in as well. Mike says, what is the Bucs cap situation like now? We're around even. We're like 500,000 over the cap. So that means something happened behind the scenes that they probably haven't announced yet. That's going to free up some room because you can't be over the cap. So the Bucs are probably working on something there that they're going to announce, and it'll probably free up room for other moves. And I think we've made some very good moves so far, not only Mayfield, and I'm not a huge Baker guy, but I do think it's a good move, but the Chase Edmonds amongst others. We'll talk about those in a bit. Mike says I'm not a Mayfield fan at all. Mike, I'm not huge on Mayfield per se in general, but the move makes sense. The move makes total sense, and there's a lot of reasons why Bucs fans, if you're a win now cat like myself, I'm never one to punt for the future. I'm never one to tank. I'm never one to be that guy. This move makes a lot of sense from a winning standpoint, especially. So that's why I give it the thumbs up, not because I condone of Baker Mayfield, but more so it makes sense to me. And then Mike gives his thoughts on Ryan Griffin. Mike's the man of the hour right now. Griffin is the best clipboard holder in the league. He damn sure is, and that's why I wouldn't mind him back, because he's cheap and he's familiar, and he's been a Buck since 2014, 2015 now. Yes, he's barely throwing passes. I was actually at the only game in the NFL where he's throwing passes that's not a preseason game, which was against the Colts in 2019 when Jameis got hurt. But yes, I wouldn't mind seeing Griffin hold the clipboard yet again. And then Mike says this is going to be a long season. Well, we do play in the NFC South. And I was having this convo yesterday with Chef, and we're friends with Chef. He's in our fantasy league. I want to get your take on this, Jeremy. I think for having a first place schedule, I actually think we got pretty lucky with how easy it is. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things that I think here's the point. First place schedule never easy, but the Bucs play the NFC North this year, which is a Bears conference. Obviously, the second weakest in the NFC, only to our conference. Oh, by the way, we play our conference twice. So we play the weakest conference in the NFC, which is ours, twice. We play the second weakest conference in the NFC, which is the Bears conference. And then out of all the AFC divisions, we play the weakest one, which is the AFC South, the Colts division. Nothing against any of those teams, but they're clearly the worst in the AFC. Yes, I get that we still play first place teams like the 49ers of the world and our AFC draw, which is likely, I believe it's Buffalo. But with all that being said, hell, would you rather have played other divisions like the Cowboys? We could have gotten the Cowboys' entire division. We could have gotten the Bills' entire division, and then we could have gotten the Chiefs as our first place AFC game. To me, the schedule could have been a lot worse for a quote-unquote first place schedule. What say you?
Couldn't agree more. I mean, there's maybe two or three teams that got my attention that will probably they're probably kind of side would be Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Buffalo. But every other team, I mean, it's wide open. You know, Green Bay, they're about to lose out on Rodgers. He's about to be dealt to the Jets whenever that comes. So they're going to be a new freshman team with a new quarterback. The Bears, you know, they made some pretty good signings, but you know, I still feel that we can definitely give them a good game with our strong defense. And then Detroit, you know, they're up and coming, and I don't fear them as much as well either. They're very beatable, I feel like, even though they add a couple of key pieces. I mean, honestly, I mean, this could go either way. I mean, some of these teams we can either show up and play good ball, and hopefully the offense will put up more points. And I think we got a good shot. But at the end of the day, I agree with you. I mean, the conference on our side is not, you know, very tough. Our division's one of the worst in football. And then plus the AFC, like you said, the AFC South, you know, not a very strong division. The Jets are pretty much going, I mean, not the Jets, I'm sorry. The Titans are pretty much going through a rebuild mode because they're trying to deal Derrick Henry. They don't have no receiving core. They're pretty depleted. They're about to lose their safety, you know, because he don't want to take a pay
Correct.
cut. So long story short, I mean, if everything goes the way in which I think it will, I think our defense is going to be strong, and I feel like the offense is going to put up more than 20 some points a game, and we might have a chance to make a run and win the division possibly. You know, because you can talk about the Saints all you want with you know, Derek Carr, but he lost some key pieces on the D line to where they're not scary. I mean, yeah, they had our number for a while, but we finally swept them last year. So, I mean, it's going to be fun. I think we're going to have a really fun, interesting season. Either we're going to show up, you know, and play butt ball and try to run the ball for once and get it going. And I feel confident in the schedule. I think it's going to be a fun year. I don't think it's going to be terrible. I think we're going to see a much better season this coming season than last season because we finally got an offensive coordinator. I feel like it's going to get the ball rolling. We were in a lot of close games last year against some pretty good teams, and our defense kind of kept us in there. I think there's only like three blowouts last year, but every other game was that close. So, you know, I feel like it's going to be a fun schedule. I think it's winnable. I agree with you.
And the NFC South, I like your point on that. Very up in the air, right? All teams had a chance until what, week 17 last season, and you know, teams like the Saints and the Panthers and the Falcons had their fair share of bruises on their roster and rough patches in their schedules, and they hung in there with us the whole time. So I don't really see the Derek Carr move carrying the Saints over the top. I don't find Dennis Allen that great of a head coach to me. I think they're going to struggle again, maybe win the division, but I think you could win this division with 7 to 9 wins this year. I don't find it unrealistic to believe that 7 to 9 wins could win this division. So I'm with you. Why we're gonna fight, we're gonna hang in there, and our division schedule isn't that strong. Obviously, you do have your first place tough cookies like you know the Eagles of the world, like the 49ers of the world, and the Bills. Sure, but at the end of the day, you went through it. I went through it. We have our winnable games. We play our division twice. It's 6 winnable games right there. Bears, Vikings, Lions, Packers. Those are all winnable games. I know some of those teams, such as the Bears and the Lions, have improved, but you know they're still winnable. Then you look around the other part of the schedule: the Colts, Titans, and the Texans all very winnable. Jags will be tough, but sure, the other three are winnable. So there's that. Mike has a question. We got a lot of Bucs moves to go over still. Shout out to the Godfather being in the building. James Rubright in the house. We appreciate you tuning in on Facebook. Mike says, when are the dates announced? He means for the schedule. Usually 2 weeks after the draft. Mike, in the draft this year is April 27th to 29th in Kansas City. So I'm guessing the schedule will be announced around May 10th to May 13th in that sort of range. And you're listening to the Buccateers. It's J-Lo and Tampa Tones with you here for about 10 more minutes or so. We got some good Bucs talk going on. We're gonna talk re-signings. We're gonna talk new signings and departures here. But I seen something on Twitter earlier that I replied to, and my tweet's actually doing decent numbers. Did you see or happen to see, Jeremy, the tweet of the Eagles guys saying how they should call in and see if Antoine Winfield's available. I mean, the clownery in that statement, we're not getting rid of him. He's not going anywhere.
Absolutely not. That's just BS. I'm sorry. That Winfield's not going anywhere. He's gonna get the bag here. He's not going anywhere. And like I said, some of these fans try to come in, especially with the whole Mike Evans situation, saying, "Hey, Mike's gonna get traded. Mike's gonna get traded." No, he's not. And like I said, at the end of the day, you know, we're gonna keep our key pieces, and Winfield is a big part of the plans. He's very favored down here. He plays everywhere on the defensive field. There's absolutely no reason why we would trade him away. And he loves it here. Why would he want to leave? Makes no sense.
And we locked up Dean. We locked up Davis. No doubt in my mind, Winfield will be the defensive back domino to get locked up next offseason. We have Stunna with us now as we close out the show. Thanks for joining us, Stunna. We're going to get your thoughts on some Bucs depth signings here shortly and bring you in here in a second. But I did clap back at the tweet, and I just quote tweeted it and said, yeah, Bucs should offer for Jalen Hurts, yada, yada, yada. Pretty much some bull crap scenario. Since he was talking crap, I might as well talk crap. And my tweet doing pretty good numbers. So a lot of Bucs fans agree with me. A lot of NFL fans seem to agree with us that Antoine Winfield isn't going anywhere seemingly. And Stunna, speaking of not going anywhere, how the hell are you? And what do you think? We haven't talked about him yet. We're going to talk about him now. Jeremy and I have been talking some Baker Mayfield, so we've already talked that. But we're going to talk about the Pat O'Connor and Cam Gill's re-signings from this weekend. So, Stunna, in your mind, A, are these both good depth re-signings, Pat O'Connor and Cam Gill? And B, which one do you think pays more dividends this coming season, brother?
Yeah, it's definitely for depth, and it depends on Cam Gill. Health wise, I'd see him as the biggest one. Pat O'Connor has always been a good special teams player, and he's also a good depth piece, like you said, a rotational piece. But both have really been injury concerns. So I guess injuries are part of the NFL, though. I mean, I used to think more about injuries than I do now because it seems like these guys are rehabbing every off season and being ready to play. But yeah, I would think Cam Gill would be the best of the two. We need a lot of depth on the interior and defensive line and the edge. And you already know where I stand with Baker Mayfield. I'm very excited about the acquisition.
Yeah, we were both talking how it gives us a chance as well, the Mayfield thing, at least a chance at excitable brand of football. And Mike D commented he's not the biggest fan, but it does give us the best chance to try and win some football games. So, Jeremy, we're going to get your thoughts here. Which one's more important? I thought Stunna did a good job of answering it. We'll see your opinion on this. The Cam Gill re-signing or the Pat O'Connor? I'm a fan of both for depth purposes as well.
No, I couldn't agree more. They're both good depth pieces. They know the system. Like I'm starting to say, health wise, it's hard to stay healthy in the NFL. But I like both the re-signings. Cam Gill to me was coming on strong last year, and then he had that unlikely injury in that first preseason game. So I think he stay healthy. I feel like he could be a valuable piece to part of the rotation, the edge rusher. I'm not saying he's going to be, a bit time, stud, but he might go in there and make some plays and help us, get the defense off the field on third downs. And Pat O'Connor, he's very favorable down here. Very loved. I feel like good special teamer. And he would be a bad, rotational guy too, because Vita Vea does need rest at times, and they do pull him a lot. And I feel like, he's a good rotational guy. Plus, he'll be a good veteran to help work with the rookie if we draft an edge, which I think we will between 5th rounds. It just depends. But at the end of the day, I'm happy with both the three signings. Truthfully, they're both, good players to me, and I feel like they'll be, if they stay healthy, they'll both be contributors.
I agree with you as
I think
well.
the Anthony Nelson sign was bigger.
And we're going to talk about that. Funny you mention it. I got a little game we're going to play here with our free agent signings where I kind of chose some of them and Stunna, save your Nelson thoughts for right now because we're getting to that right now. I put packages together of guys that the Bucs signed, so brought in from outside. Each of these teams have won, and then who the Bucs re-signed. Each of these groups have won, and then tendered free agents who they re-signed. Each of these groups have won. So I paired three groups of guys. There's two groups of three. We're gonna go around and say which group of guys that we are more glad that are back or new faces, etc., etc. So pretty much I'll name the groups. We'll go around and yeah, pretty much talk up why you're more happy about which group you're going to pick. So maybe Stunna picks Anthony Nelson's group. We'll find out here right now. Stunna, we'll start with you since you had an Anthony Nelson thought, and Huncho just texted us saying he can't make it this evening. That's okay, Huncho. We hope whatever you're dealing with goes okay, brother. But Stunna, we're going to start with you first. Which group of three are you more happy to see the Bucs sign / bring back to the roster? Is it A, this group A, Jamel Dean, Chase Edmonds,
Hey,
Jamel Dean, Chase
yes.
Edmonds, and D.
You know,
Delaney?
as I already said, the priority in the offseason has to be Jamel Dean. We struggled at the cornerback position pretty much since Brian Kelly got hurt against the Indianapolis Colts in 2003. Okay, so Jamel Dean is the first legitimate lockdown corner we've had since then, and this is the best cornerback combo we've had since those 2000 early 2000 Bucks teams.
As David Ferrara, Bucks fans joining us now. So you didn't even give the other team a chance. Greg Gaines.
No, because Jamel Dean was the priority.
Hold on. Greg Gaines, Anthony Nelson, Nick Leverett. You were going to talk up Nelson, but I think I agree with you. You don't think it's close, huh?
No, it's not, because Jamel Dean was the priority. I didn't think we were going to re-sign Jamel Dean. I thought he was gone. And the fact that we got him back, man, that makes the whole offseason, really. And, you know, since Light has been our GM, he has prioritized signing our own free agents. And, you know, we didn't lose our own. Anthony Nelson was the number 3 guy I thought we needed to sign. I thought number 1 was Dean. Number 2 was Levante David. And number 3 was Anthony Nelson. And the fact that we come out the off season and re-signed all 3 is just an amazing feat. And it just goes to credit, you know, our front office and how great they've been since, since Light got here, basically.
Yeah, and I didn't even put in it Levante David because I knew, you know, everyone wants him back. And who doesn't? I know David joining us on Facebook's a big fan of Levante David, as is everybody. Jeremy, are you in the same boat? Does it even come close with the Group A, Jamel Dean, Chase Edmonds, and D. Delaney versus Group B, Greg Gaines, Anthony Nelson, and Nick Leverett?
I have to agree with Stunner for sure. You know, Jamel Dean was a bit one of the biggest surprise, especially for the price tag he said to come back with, which blew my mind. And he loves it here. You know, he's a true, you know, Tampa fan. He loves the fans here, and he's had a hell of a career last year and how well he played. And the fact that we were able to get him back at that price shows that you know that he's definitely loving the city of Tampa, and that's the kind of guys I like. I like players that want to be here that want to come back on a cheaper deal. You know, I thought for sure he would go to maybe to another team that would pay him a lot of money, but he didn't want to leave. So, and I agree with Stunna. You know, Dean and Carlton Davis are probably the best duo we've had in a long time since like Ronnie Barber, Brian Kelly days. I can't even think back of a better duo, truthfully. You know, and even though they're not ball hogs, that's probably the biggest pet peeve they got to work on, the both of them. But they're shut down corners. They'll take the number ones out of the game and give our pass rush a chance to get to the quarterback. So absolutely, you know, Dean's back for another 3 to 4 years. I'm so thankful. Levante being back, you know, I kind of feeling he was going to come back. You know, he said he wanted to finish his career as a Bucs, and I believed in it. You know, but Dean was a big surprise. Anthony Nelson, another surprise. I'm for sure he was going to go somewhere else. I feel like he definitely had another like Dean, a career year last year, forcing fumbles, getting up to the quarterback. And he'll be fun to watch. Because we don't know how Shaquille Barrett's going to come back. We don't know if he's going to be the Shaquille Barrett we knew from 19 to 20, or he's going to be the Shaquille we saw early in the season, not really getting to the quarterback. So I'm excited, man. Dean, I agree with Stunner. Dean, all the way.
And guys, we have some breaking news here, some sad breaking news out of the NFL world. Not Buccaneers related, but NFC South related. And since the Bucs are in the South, we do talk about them as well. So earlier this offseason, free agent tight end of the Las Vegas Raiders, Foster Moreau, had a visit lined up with the New Orleans Saints, and a lot of people assumed that he was going to sign there. Visit went well with them, according to reports, and then all kind of went quiet around Foster Moreau's camp. And today it comes out. He just tweeted 10 minutes ago, and I'm going to read his tweet. It's a 3-tweet long tweet. Then we'll get to our last Buck question or two, and then we'll head home. But sad stuff. He says, through somewhat of a miraculous process, this free agency period has been life-changing for me. During a routine physical conducted by the Saints medical team down in New Orleans, I've come to learn that I have Hodgkin's lymphoma and will be stepping away from football at this time to fight a new opponent, cancer. I'm grateful for the support and thankful for people who have stood with me. There hasn't been a single step I've taken without hundreds of people lighting the path before me, and I will continue to seek their guidance. That being said, I'll go kick this thing's ass and get back to doing what I love. AMDG. So some sad news there, fellas. Stunna, thoughts on that? Foster Moreau stepping away from the game of football to battle with Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Degenerative diseases are always bad news. NFL career is short, and life is fragile, like we already discussed when we talked about the Rays, Dave Michigan. So
Dave Wills, but I know what you mean.
Yes, sir. I think Dave Michigan is with the Lightning.
Correct.
So life is fragile. That's always bad news. Your NFL career is very short. It's just another reminder that everything can be taken from you in a snap of a finger.
And we've seen it with Texans rookie wide receiver Mechie from Alabama last year as well. J-Lo, quick thoughts on the developing news and situation with free agent tight end Foster Moreau stepping away with Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Prayers up, man. Prayers up to him. It's an unfortunate event for him, and I pray that he makes it through. I remember I think Eric Berry, the safety from the Chiefs, a long time ago. He had the same diagnosis, and he recovered, and he played football again. Hopefully, that'll be the same case with Foster Moreau. To me, I think he was a very good player. I watched him a little bit when he played for the Raiders. And like I said, it's a situation. Unfortunately, life is so short. You can't take it for granted. And hopefully, he has a speedy recovery and he'll be back shortly, back soon.
Yeah, you hate to see it to anyone in life, and then when it happens to people, athletes, it seems like holy crap. It really makes you realize, damn, this could happen to anyone, because we know that. But when it happens to guys who are larger than life figures on TV, they do have good money. You feel like they're a little invincible sometimes. And then something like this happens, and it makes you step back and think, boy, we're all lucky in life. We're lucky to be watching these great athletes, and it's a shame. Prayers out to Foster Moreau. Hope he gets better soon. We're all praying for him here from the Buccateers. We are on the Buccateers, and we got two things left to go over before we bounce out of here and call it a night. Jeremy's joining us. J-Lo, lifelong Bucs fan, listener of the shows. We got Stunna, the co-host, in the building as well, fellas. We'll start with you this time, Jeremy. J-Lo, question. Out of the three departing Bucs, Edwards to Kansas City, SMB to Tennessee, or Nacho to the Giants, which one will you miss the most and why?
Truthfully, I'm gonna say Nacho. Nacho, he brought a lot of excitement to the D line, hyped the boys up. hard worker, worked his way up. I really will miss him. I mean, Mario Edwards was another tough loss, but at the same time, I feel like Nacho was more of a voice in the locker room more than Edwards. So I'd say Nacho. It was hard to lose him, and best of luck to him in New York, man. Hopefully he'll go out there, bring the hype to that team, that organization, and that's pretty much it on that point. And best of luck to Mike Edwards as well, and SMB. SMB, he's another one who just couldn't stop, with injuries, man. Injuries, mental mistakes. He showed some flashes toward the end of the season. And he's got a good opportunity over there in Tennessee. He's got a good chance to go out there and play the outside corner position. He could beat out one of those corners. So best of luck to him as well. But Nacho, I'd say, was probably the toughest one to me, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I got to think about that one a little more, though, before I give my answer. Stunna, do you agree that it's Nacho, or would you say somebody else?
Nacho's personality will be missed the most. He had a big personality. He was definitely a leader in the clubhouse. I'll probably personally miss SMB because I was a big fan of Successful Jocks and what his mom was doing with her charity, and he was just a really good guy, man, to me. Probably the most disappointing is Mike Edwards, though. I mean, he had a chance to really solidify that safety spot. I was a big Jordan Whitehead fan, and I didn't want to see Jordan Whitehead go. And he had a chance last year to kind of fill those shoes, and I don't think he ever really did. So, and he forced Antoine Winfield into the box to try to fill the Whitehead role, and he couldn't fill the free safety role that Winfield had, and Winfield couldn't fill the strong safety role that Jordan Whitehead had. So now we have to replace both Whitehead and Mike Edwards this season because we really didn't replace him last year. So, and our defensive backfield has been a real question mark for a great number of years here in Tampa. So, me personally, SMB, most disappointing is Mike Edwards. I expected him to really show out last year in a contract role and being a starter for the first time. And I think the community will definitely miss, Nacho and his big personality, as well as the clubhouse.
Yeah, no wrong answers here, fellas. I like everything each of you said. I'm gonna lean with. Oh, I'm between. Nothing against Edwards. I think he made some great plays. I'm between SMB and Nacho as well. I just loved SMB. The playoff run he did, as you said, done a lot of good charity work. Nacho did a lot of great stuff for the community as well. Edwards had some great memories and plays on the field. Shout out to Bob from work for tuning in on Facebook this evening. We appreciate it. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with SMB here, just because I do think, the memories of the Super Bowl. I met his mom in person. I met SMB in person. I met SMB's brother in person. I got a lot of cool ties with SMB. For that reason, I'll miss him, and I think the potential is there. We'll see if he could reach up to his limits in Tennessee. Not saying it's not with Nacho, but you know what you're going to get from Nacho. I still think we could see SMB provide more. Not saying Edwards can't, but I think SMB's ceiling is a little bit higher there as well, fellas. We're nearing the end here on the Buccateers. Real quick, I just want to get your thoughts on a potential edge rusher. If you guys think we're going to bring one in during free agency, and then we're going to head out of here. So, Jeremy, we'll start with you here first. Any chance you think the Bucs still bring in a veteran edge rusher, even though we did re-sign Cam Gill? We got Anthony Nelson back. Shaq Barrett should be coming back from injury this year. Do you see the Bucs adding another edge rusher this offseason, or an edge rusher through free agency?
Truthfully, it depends on the health of Shaq Barrett. I think they're gonna wait and see how he's feeling all the way to the draft. 'Cause I remember Jason Light said he was gonna go for value, which is more of an affordable run. I would love to add a guy like Ndakwe, who played for the Colts last year. He's a veteran experience. I think could provide depth. Or maybe we'll get a veteran like Justin Houston. But I think those will be the guys you'll see toward training camp time. So if it would be my decision or how I'm gut feeling, I'm feeling that we'll probably draft an edge rusher and then wait to see the health of Shaq Bear if he can come back or not. Because it all depends how he feels. Remember, we're paying him a lot of money, and I feel like they're going to want him to play his best out there. Because obviously, what Josh Kipple put out there, Shaq Barrett, they didn't restrict his contract for a reason because he could be on the cutting block next offseason, depending how he is. So a veteran edge rusher, I don't think we'll see another signing until after the draft or toward training camp.
And I could see if we do bring in an edge, Andrew Van Ginkel from the Dolphins fit in that bill, but we got Andrew Van Ginkel out there as a potential edge option. Justin Houston, a little more of a vet there. Frank Clark as well. Melvin Ingram, Leonard Floyd, Jadeveon Clowney, Yannick Ngakoue, as you mentioned, Jeremy. A lot of names still out there. Jeremy likes Ngakoue. I like Van Ginkel. Stunna, do you think the Bucs add an edge? And if so, who do you like out of that list, or any other free agents, perhaps?
I think the Bucs are done in free agency. I think they're going to have to find a way to get money up for their draft picks. I think they waited a year too late. I would have loved to give up the 19 pick for Bradley Chubb last year. And if you remember the last 4 or 5 games, we only dressed 2 edge rushers, which was Joe Transarenka and Anthony Nelson were the only ones dressed. And so they had no backups in the game.
They literally played like every snap.
They literally played 99% of the defensive snaps. So I think we're done, man. I think our money's spent. I think we're gonna have to find money somehow in the draft to get up. I don't know where we do with our first round pick. I thought we made a mistake last year trading out. I thought we should have got the center from Iowa. And I think that this year, I think we need to get I like everyone's talking about the safety from Alabama, but I remember Mark Barron. Okay. And so I'm kind of leery with that because we drafted him in the first round very high. But at 19, maybe it's not as bad of a risk. Okay. But no, I don't think we go after another edge. I don't really, if we do, it's going to have to be at a bargain because we're kind of against the cap.
Yeah, and I wonder if Andre Anthony just looked that bad last year. 7th round pick out of LSU was an edge rusher. I don't know if we couldn't afford him. He just looked that bad. It was that bad of a miss. He went to the Bears and then didn't get signed. But he would have been a cheap edge rusher to add to this roster. But right now, the Bucs are penny pinching. We'll see if they announce other extensions or restructures to create more cap, as they are $500,000 over the cap. Maybe bring in a Yannick Ngakoue, a Van Ginkel, or as Stunna said, maybe they're done and will be patient until the second wave of cuts comes right before the regular season come September time. Guys, it's been a
quick question for you, Tones.
What's up? Before we close out, feel free. Any questions? What's up, Stunna?
How well have we done drafting in the 5th, 6th, or 7th round since we had Mr. Jason Light? How well have we done in those rounds?
It depends what you look at as value in those rounds. I mean, I think he's done pretty. I mean, it's been hit or miss, but I think he's done relatively okay. Speaking,
I think it's a lot of misses. I don't think he's done well. I think that I can't remember the last time we drafted a starter outside of the 4th round. So if I'm the Bucs, I'm trading all the way up, into the 4th. And I even picked them late picks. We don't do nothing with them. I think we do better with undrafted free agents than we do with our late round draft picks.
Well, I mean, O'Keefe was a 6th round pick last year. I think he showed pretty good glimpses of hope. You hope a guy like Zion McCollum, who was a 5th rounder, shows signs of hope. So I know what you're saying, but I do think there have been guys.
I don't think either one of those did a great job. But go ahead.
I mean, you can't really. O'Keefe is just getting going, I think, and then KJ Britt the year before that, he could develop into something. We got a draft pick back for Grant Stord last year. We traded him. He was a good special teamer. So I don't know. It really depends how you slice the cake. I don't think it's been phenomenal by any means, but I think it could be worse out there if you look around the late rounds and see what other teams have done as well.
Well,
I hear what you're
other
saying
teams
that it's
isn't
not.
us. So, you know.
I hear what you're saying. It hasn't been perhaps that great, but I don't think you're always going to find those late guys that are going to jump in and be starters right away. I don't think.
Well, it depends on your scouting department because we saw number 10 for Kansas City did a pretty good job last year.
Yeah, but he wasn't starting. Jerick McKinnon ended up starting for them. Pacheco played a lot, but yeah, McKinnon was their starter. But yeah, I know what you mean. It would be nice. It would. I mean, we got to remember though, Matt Gay, the highest paid kicker in the league now, was a 5th-round pick. Just because he didn't get the job done here, that's an effective pick. Anthony Nelson was a round 4 pick. Scotty Miller a round 6 pick. These are guys who have paid dividends for this franchise, all drafted by Jason Light, outside of Matt Gay, obviously. But look, he is the highest paid kicker in the league now, so he obviously is looked at some sort of way. I do think there are these hits, and you look even before that, Justin Watson, 5th-round pick, just won his 2nd Super Bowl already. Jordan Whitehead, 4th-round pick, got paid. There's glimpses.
No, I agree. Jordan Whitehead was a great pick in the 4th round, and most of those are great 4th-round picks. I think you said A. Nelly was a 5th. So that would be the cutoff. Scotty Miller isn't on anybody's team right now. And some of the others, but.
But he did contribute in 2020.
Go ahead, Bob.
No, my bad. Let me interrupt you, Stunner. I was trying to tell you Scotty Miller was a big contributor on a Super Bowl run, man. He did make some plays that would never be forgotten, especially in the Green Bay game on the deep ball, which is like as well. Yeah, he's not a roster right now, but I think he'll get an opportunity to play somewhere else. I feel like he was a key drafty. You can't forget about Tyler Johnson. I feel like, he contributed a little bit. He's had some bad luck. And I believe he was a 4th-round pick, if I'm not mistaken, Tyler Johnson, or 4th or 5th.
5th.
I can't remember. 5th-rounder. So, Light, he's going to have his hits or miss. But
So
at the end
the
of the
5th
day,
round should be our mark. Then if we get someone after the 5th round, we could pretty much count on them being a camp body.
I mean, that's every team.
agreed.
No team is sitting here right now going, "Oh boy, we're like 6th or 7th-round picks are hit or miss with every team. It's not just us." Sure, Light's track record might not be the greatest, but I bet you I could go back right now on any NFL team and look at their 6th or 7th-round picks and beat around the bush.
I think Light's track record is the greatest in the 2nd and 3rd rounds.
Yeah, that's probably true, and I mean, I think he's done a good job in 1st rounds. We've gotten guys like Vita Vea and Devin White.
Right.
Like,
that's true, and Mike Evans.
Look at last year for Houston, just off the top of my head. I mean, there's really no telling. I mean, is Austin DeCluis a great player for the Texans? Is Tegan Quantrero a great player for them? Is Roy Lopez a great player for them? You know what I'm saying? It's all a crapshoot to me, those type of rounds.
The Texans also hired Lovie Smith to be their head coach.
I just brought him up as a point. I could go to any team and name their 6th and 7th-round picks. And, yeah, you're going to get starters here or there, luck of the draw. But, it's more of a luck thing at that point. If you want to kill Light for his first 4 rounds, that's where if you want to comment on that, I think it's a good job. But
I'm definitely not killing Light. I'm definitely not killing Light because he was a lot better than basically the best we've had since Rich McKay. So we had a couple duds after McKay.
Yeah, Mark Dominic wasn't too great or anything.
Mark Dominic and
Jeremy, any thoughts on it, Jeremy, on the situation in general?
With the draft, like I said, Light has some hit and miss, but I do kind of agree with Stunny. 2nd, 3rd round is probably a good trade for him. Fourth round, he's hit pretty well. Fifth round, hit or miss. At the end of the day, Jason Light is going to draft the best players on the board to help us win. I think he's going to go with the best players. I do not agree with him trading down to get Logan Hall. I truly feel they should have got Louis Sean from Georgia with the DBs. But Logan
Mm.
Hall, he deserves another year to prove himself. You can't go by 1 year. Let's see if he does in year two. So I trust Light. He's been the best general manager I feel in Buccaneer history. Not to knock Rich McKay because he did put together a good team as well. But for what Jason Light has done, bringing all these free agents in, bringing Bruce Arians out of retirement, which is another thing that was incredible. And then, of course, Tom Brady. You bring the greatest football player ever to the city of Tampa, where we were a laughing stock for all these years. We were a laughing stock, and we ended up becoming Tampa Bay. You know, and hopefully we'll carry on with it. Hopefully, Light will get something out of Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask, or they might draft a quarterback later on in the later rounds. Like there's a dude from Houston who's very talented. I looked at his stats: 40 touchdowns. I think he threw over 4,000 yards, 3,000 yards. I mean, we could get somebody like that in the seventh round. Another a third quarterback to add in there with Ryan Griffin. So back to Jason Light. I trust him, and like I said, he's the best general manager ever, in my opinion.
It's hard. It's hard to argue that the Bucs have had their fair share of ups and downs. But, ladies and gentlemen, we've had Jeremy for over an hour now. We've been with you guys for over an hour now. We've got Stunna in the house. We're gonna go on and bounce out of here. We've been with you guys, irritable long enough, talking all these free agent moves. So we're gonna go ahead and give our one big things and our walk offs as we trounce out of here now. And Jeremy, it's been fantastic having you on, brother. So we'll start with you one more time. Where can the good people follow you at on Twitter, my friend? And on top of that, what's your one big thing and walk off for the Buccaneers as you walk out of here? What do you want people to know? What are you thinking about the Bucs? What's your biggest thing right now?
Well, you guys can follow me at JLo1990 all day at Twitter, and I follow the Bucks, Rays, Lightning. I watch a little bit of UFC and wrestling. But the one that walk up with the Bucks is, I love my team. I'm very blessed that we're not getting the Super Bowl during the Tom Brady era, and I'm excited for the QB competition, man. And go Bucks, man! I feel like it's going to be a fun season. Maybe not the best season, but hey, NFC is weak right now, and I feel like we got a good shot. End of the day, if you're a true Bucks fan, you got to believe in your team, trust in Light, and go Bucks, baby.
I love it, Jeremy. Once again, everybody go follow Jeremy, and we hope to have you back on in the near future, brother, talking more Bucks, maybe around the draft or maybe around schedule release. We'll get your opinions, and we'll pick your brain some more.
Love to come, man. Thanks for inviting me. Like I said, it's been fun. I enjoyed it very much.
Absolutely, brother. We appreciate it, and you take care and have a great night, brother, okay?
You too, my man. Take care.
Thanks, Jeremy. Everybody, that was a great J-Lo. Jeremy, a great Bucks fan there. Incredible guy. Just stunning. Pretty cool having a lifelong Bucks fan, listener of the shows on. I kind of like having a listener of the shows on depicting some Bucks ball with him. What's your one big thing or walk-off before we head out of here, brother? Some good stuff there.
Well, you're going to get analysis on the Buccateers. This ain't no flag waiver or jock sniffer podcast going on out here. So you're always going to get an analysis when you go and listen to our show, and that's what it's all about. We'll take any guest that let's say maybe Jenna Lane. And so my big thing is the draft, man. It's like the Super Bowl for Bucks fans. It always has been. That's the one day we get to win back in the past, and then with Ray Perkins, very rarely that. But it was definitely the draft is a huge thing. Buccaneer fans get excited, fire the cannons, get it up. And then my walk-off is we're still the NFC South champions. I know we didn't play well down the stretch,
but we're still the NFC South champions. And to beat the man, or to beat a man, you got to beat the man. And so if the Saints think that their little moves they're making is doing something, if Atlanta wants to save money and not put together a good team, and if Carolina thinks a flash in the pan coaching hire going to change things down south, I got news for them. It ain't happening, player. It's the Buccaneers, run the South, fire the cannons, hoist the sails, and let's sail up into this NFC next year and blow some musket fire. Go Bucs.
Let's fricking go. I love that Stunner. Ready to run through a wall for that. Speaking of Panthers, these guys are annoying now. They keep adding to their coaching staff. They think it's going to win in the South. I don't think so. It says Panthers have hired former Cardinals assistant coach Michael Berkovici as an offensive assistant per league source. The former Arizona State QB was with the Panthers, wide receiver coach Sean Jefferson with Arizona. So there you go. Panthers are afraid. They keep adding to their staff. My one big thing in walk-off is this, baby. Enjoy this time of year, the draft, the schedule release, the rest of free agency, minicamp, because before you know it, the fall's going to be here and the damn season is going to roll through at the snap of a finger. The anticipation's the best part, ladies and gentlemen. I know we seem far away right now, but soak it all in. Take a deep breath. Enjoy the Buccateers this offseason. As Stunner said, we're always going to bring you that analysis. Enjoy all their Bucs outlets. You guys enjoy the offseason. Trust me. I know you really want to get to opening day kickoff, but you're going to think back and be like, damn, those summer nights or those spring nights and I was listening to Buccateers or whoever you might be listening to, getting excited about the team. The day's already here. Enjoy it, guys. It goes by faster than you could say it. Fire the damn cannons and go Bucs. Stunner, any last comments before we head out?
I mean, Carolina got some good players. They made a run last year. They got they got a good DC. They got a good head coach. What are we going to do to counter that? We got to get our defense back. Buccaneers always been known as defense. Leroy Selman era, defense. Warren Sapp era, defense. Tom Brady era, we were known more for offense, even though we had the great Devin White at middle linebacker. So I want to see Devin White put his defense on his shoulders once again and go wrecking crew through this schedule this year. Let's get some W's and let's celebrate.
Let's go. Let's get W's. Let's celebrate. For Stunner Tampa Tones, we had J-Lo Jeremy on. That was good stuff as well. Listener of the show's lifelong Bucs fan. It's been the Buccateers. Keep up with us on Facebook at Bucs Life News, Twitter at Buccateers, Instagram Buccateers Pod, YouTube Buccateers Podcast, Apple, Google, Spotify, and so much more for the instant replay. Let's ride. Fire the damn cannons. Have a great night, y'all. Stay blessed. Love you guys. Game on Sunday, man. I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buck fans were there too. The Bucs.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by Lead Goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunner is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little cleared. But we're joined by Pat
It looks like
Donovan.
Stunner's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like we got a little...
No, my